All right, this is Sergio with Overtime Heroics. I'm joined by UFC Bantamweight Vince Morales. Vince, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. It's always nice to catch up, man. I feel like it's funny because I haven't, like, when we first met, it was right after your last fight. So
Yeah.
I haven't really known you, like during a fight week or anything like that. So I can't wait for you to get back in there, man. We just got some news. You're back in there. You're ready to go, and I know you've been craving to get back into the cage. So how are you feeling?
I feel great. I was telling I literally just got done with the doctor's appointment, and I was telling him I feel great. Like I feel like I could like fight like next week. Like I'm good to go. And of course they're like, well, you probably could, but hold off. Like let's do things the right way. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I was just trying to let you know that things are progressing nicely, and I'm good to go, man. I'm just happy to be back to training a little more.
Overall, I mean, this is probably the best. I wouldn't say best year to be injured, but with everything going on with, empty arenas, people pulling out, COVID and everything, it probably is the best year for you to have an injury, have some time off. What's it been like down there with COVID and restrictions and things like that?
So here in Vegas, the COVID stuff's kind of like, depending on where you go, like you might see different rule sets and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's starting to kind of fizzle out a little bit. Still, everybody's rocking masks and everything. We got to wear masks while we're training at Syndicate and stuff. But that's all kind of here or there. It was kind of good to get a fresh perspective on things from the outside, which is something that I don't think I've ever done before because I've always been go, 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 even when I don't have a fight. So the forced perspective from the outside has been it's been a little refreshing, honestly. And I think despite the last, 2 fights now, but despite the last fights, I feel great. Like mentally, I think I'm better than I ever really have been. And I felt pretty good going into the last fight. I'm sure it didn't seem like it, but yeah, I felt awesome. Like, and I feel even better now. I can't wait to get back in there. I'm planning we'll get into that later. I'm good. Good.
All right. Yeah. You mentioned that last fight, and I kind of wanted to bring you on because I got to know you right as the injury happened, and now it's kind of, I wouldn't say done yet. There's still some more work to be done, but your recovery's gone great. Things are going good. So I want to talk a little bit about your recovery. So when you look back at that fight, obviously the leg kick and everything took its toll. What was the extent of the injury on your Achilles?
So from that fight, they think that the tear on my Achilles may have been from me rushing back to training too soon. They kind of don't really know because according to the doctors, when Achilles tendons go, they go. So it's kind of, I may not have been able to see that coming. My physical therapist, on the other hand, happened to think that I'm just not known for taking things easy. Like, okay, cool, I had the fight, I got to go in there, get back to work, and try to fix some of the things that were obviously an issue. Just might have been too much too soon, and I think it was 2.5 months after the fight. I still have some swelling in my legs, by the way, from that fight. It's crazy, but yeah, I was just bouncing around, and then full rupture of the Achilles, and literally been forced on the sidelines ever since. Yeah, it's very rough at first. I remember we were just talking about this earlier. There were a couple points where I didn't know if I was ever going to recognize what it felt like to walk normal again. So just the last like month and a half, I've been walking around normal for the most part, and it's very, thinking back, like, man, it almost seems like forever ago. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine an injury like that. As someone who's simply a spectator of the sport, I mean, I do jiu-jitsu, but like by no means have I taken a leg kick that Chris Gutierrez threw. From someone from my perspective, I can imagine an injury like that where you're struggling to walk again. You still have swelling. You're getting mixed, answers from different doctors, and everyone's saying different things. I can imagine there had to be a point where you're like, man, I don't know if this is for me. I mean, I don't know if I can do this. Did that ever cross your mind?
Not really. I think that my parents would like me to say yeah, but no, not really. It's from the fight to the injury, now the injury to now, it's all been just obstacles I got to work past. I'm trying to be the first like first UFC champion that's had a stoppage on my career from leg kicks. Like, like I still got the same goals. I still know what I want. I still enjoy what I'm doing, and that's not even about to change.
One of the things that I thought was kind of cool was the fact that the way you handled it. You know, right afterwards, we were laughing about it. It was the day after the loss, and we were laughing about your leg. And throughout the entire thing, you wrote hashtag no leg kicks in your bio. And the way you've handled it, I mean, anytime someone throws a leg kick, your name is mentioned on the air. So how do you kind of stay positive and look at it from that perspective?
It's all exposure for one. Like every time Gutierrez fights, I said this for his last fight. Every time they show a highlight of me getting leg kick, I'm taking a shot. So it's kind of just embracing it. Like I know what it is. For me, it was a lesson that I should have known from my past. Man, how many fights? I started getting leg kicked like 3 pro fights in, and I'd shrugged them off. I'm like, whatever, it's a fight. Like I'll take a leg kick to land a punch. Which is all good and fine until you can't land the punch. Like, so it just got to that point, and if anything, it took longer than that hole in my game took longer to get exposed than I would have liked, if that makes sense. It got exposed. It's a lesson learned. I'm not going to sit there and cry about it. It's not going to change anything. I can laugh about it and move on and try to progress and fix that issue, and that's how I handle everything.
So with the layoff, I'm sure there's different things you missed. I'm sure you missed jiu-jitsu. I'm sure you missed boxing. I'm sure you miss, you know, the first thing I could think of is, man, I guarantee you he wants to start throwing some leg kicks. What was the thing you missed most during that layoff?
Literally every the thing I missed most was probably that dog dead tired feeling from a hard practice. Like that's something that I haven't missed ever. Like that's you know, at the end of practice, you're exhausted, you're fried. Man, it's like, oh God, I just can't wait to go home and lay down. I can't wait to go back and have that feeling. Like, because for me, I know that signifies hard work, that signifies growth in some type of manner. That's the biggest thing I miss. If we're talking individuals, I miss punching people in the face. I miss Darce choking people. I miss everything about it. I'm sweating. I miss being tired. I miss not whining about just my leg. I want my whole body to be sore. Yeah.
When you have someone at home, for a lot of people who don't know, I mean, your entire family is involved in the sport, you know, from your girlfriend to your cousin, Ricky Simone. What's it like having people like that? I'm sure in one way it's motivation, and another way it's like, man, I don't want to watch you practice today. Like it hurts. I don't want to hear about it. Like I want to get in there. So what's it like having that all the time?
I loved it. Like I said, so one thing about going and just watching like Shino practice and stuff like that was I got an outside perspective. I could kind of play with moves in my head and just kind of visualize. I was trying to learn through osmosis a lot of times. And it's great for people to, like, they really understand. Shino's had her share of injuries. My cousin's had his own injuries. We know what time away from the sport feels like, and it doesn't feel good. So they can sympathize with that. But I don't know. I think we all take a little bit of something from the fact that I keep wanting to just even go watch. Like, it's still just as much part of my life when I'm not physically involved in it. And I don't know. I think that shows, and I think it motivates all of us a little bit. I hope it does, anyways. That's how I'd like it to be taken. It's an obstacle, and we're not going to let it crush us. Right? We're going to try to grow from it and get better still. And that's what fighting's all about, really. Like, this is part of the fight that's not involved with the actual fight.
Yeah, that team down there too. I mean, Syndicate MMA with John Wood and the entire team there, Roxanne. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I see a guy in a cowboy hat walking in every once in a while. What's it like being surrounded by that team? I mean, I'm sure, you know, seeing people like that. And I think Roxanne especially, like, you know, her bubbly personality. I'm sure that entire team is like that. What's it like being around that group of people?
It's awesome. It's I think exactly what I needed, really. Just to be able to appreciate that from not just being in it, being on the outside of it. It feels good for different reasons. It's motivating. Kind of see all these people that I'm constantly surrounded by that are all striving for that and chasing greatness, and that's what it's all about. Like, guys, stuff gives me goosebumps, man. Like, I get worked up. I love it. It's been a blessing, really.
Yeah, I mean how excited are you to have John Wood in your corner? When you get back in there, because I think he's one of the most underappreciated coaches in the entire game. I think a lot of it has to do with primarily the team at Syndicate is female, so I think it's ignored a lot. But I think he's one of the masterminds of the sport.
Yeah, he's great. You can definitely tell he's got a great mind for it. He cornered me for my first Bellator fight, for I think going on 5 years ago now, and I remember I was losing that fight. I was getting beat up. This is when I was fighting 45, and the guy was way bigger than me, just kind of handling me. He threw one knee, it cut me in like 3 places, and it was crazy. Anyways, I was losing the fight, and I remember going back to the corner and like, bro, I'm getting my ass kicked, and he's like, yeah, well, down 2 rounds, like you got to knock him out. I was like, okay, knock him out. It's like knock him out. So I get out, go. I'm ready to fight a hard round in the last round of the fight, and I end up getting a knockout there. And I think that kind of I didn't train with him for very long, and I think he still had that trust in the skill set and knew what I could do. I just had to go out there and show it. And I believe he said the right thing to put me in the right mindset to go do that. And if anything, just working with him again has been refreshing in that sense. And I think he's got a great mind for it. Like you said, I think he is a little underappreciated. I think he's kind of okay with that too. He knows where he stands. He knows where kind of he sits, and all of his fighters just want to prove that and show him how good of an asset he is. And I'm looking to do that same thing, kind of a rinse and repeat for me.
When that third round hits, you're down 2 rounds or down a round and a half or whatever it is. How important is it to have someone you trust in that corner? Because I know a lot of guys are like, I just want the best guy in my corner. How important is it that the person that is in there is someone that you trust versus, just the biggest name?
Right. That's a good question. Like, I guess I haven't really thought of that. I know for me, I usually end the fights better than I start. I have been known to be starting fights fairly slow. I usually ramp it up and I get better. And as long as they know that and they know what I can do, then I put a little trust in them to kind of guide me down that path. And I think we come out on top every time as long as I can do that. So if anything, he's going to be that person for me, and it's going to happen.
When you look forward now, I can tell the second I say looking ahead, I can tell that you're starting to get excited. What is next for you? How ready are you to get back in there? And if it were up to you, how soon would you like to be back in there?
If it were up to me and everything was good, I'd be fighting next month. I would like that, but I know I also want to do the right thing by me and right thing by the PI who's put me back together, the doctor who put me back together, the coaching staff that's kind of been there throughout this whole process. I want to do right by them, and I want to fix the holes in the game, right? So I just want to make sure that I've developed properly by the time I'm back in there. So for me, I'm aiming end of summer, like August-ish, maybe end of July. That's my goal. I set that as the goal. Back to training now. I can work on some of these areas, and yeah, I think that's going to be perfect. Is about that end of summertime. The doctor was literally just talking to me about that right now. So he was saying the beginning of summer, and I was starting to get excited. And I was like, hold on. I know I got to do my due diligence. I want to be a professional. I want to act like a professional for once. Like, I've taken fights before where I had knee surgery and fought 2 weeks later. Like, I don't need to be doing that just because I can improve a point. Like, act like a professional, and things are going to happen the way they're supposed to. So I'm putting a lot of belief in that, and I'm aiming for end of summer return.
When you heard the news of the UFC cuts, I mean, you're sitting on the sideline, you can't get in there. And I think that there's a lot that's hidden that you can't see necessarily when you look at your record, like the Benito Lopez loss. That's not a loss 9 times out of 10. The Chris Gutierrez fight was up a weight class. There's a lot of things that people don't necessarily see when they look at your record. Was there a little bit of fear? It's like, I can't get in there. I can't go and show myself. Were you worried that maybe, you might be released throughout that time?
Absolutely. I think right around the time boss man Dana White was saying there's going to be like 60 fighters cut, I was like, instantly my hands started sweating. I was like, oh man. I texted my manager. I was like, bro, I haven't even really gotten started to prove and show what I can really do yet. Like, do I got to be worried about this or anything? And kind of calmed me down for a second. And Chino as well kind of calmed me down. Just like, I think you're going to be fine. Like, I've showed I know the last fighting wasn't much of a showing, but I think I showed in some of my previous fights glimpses of greatness, and
Mhm.
I'm not about to let that fade away. So I know that. I wanted to make sure that they knew that and everything, and I just said, don't worry, just focus on your recovery. No sense in stressing. Like, we're gonna take care of you, and things are gonna go all right. We're gonna make the right steps these next fights, and looking at making in the next 2 years some real big waves in the division. So
Yeah, I think the Iman Zahabi fight was the one that really, really impressed me, and especially after his last performance, it just shows how skilled you really are. And at that time, I hadn't known you, and obviously being Canadian, I was like, "Oh, Iman's got this,"
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you proved me wrong. So, I can't wait to see you back in there. I'm sure there's lots of names that you'd like at the tip of your tongue, but is it about picking the right fight to, avoid another loss, or is it just, whoever they throw at me?
Who- I don't like the idea of picking the right fight. I feel like that puts chips in the wrong baskets and takes away from what a fight actually is. So for me, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care if they're throwing me like they need a title fight in 6 hour notice or whatever. I'm like, cool. Like, you want to look at me like a sacrificial lamb? Like, I'm like, sign me up. That's okay. Um, I'm here to fight. Like, I'm a fighter. I wanted to show that I'm a real fighter, and I don't think I've absolutely showed that the way that I can and will. So whoever it is, whenever it is, I'll be ready.
I want to talk about someone that's been fighting while you've been on the sidelines, and that's your cousin Ricky Simone.
Mhm.
Been a fan of his for forever. He's had some ups and downs. Anytime he got that high level fight, a guy like
Mhm.
Uriah Faber was when he'd fall. Now it seems to be just like on the best run of his career. As a friend, as a training partner, as a cousin, what do you expect from him? How far do you think he could go?
Dude, I think that dude's gonna be champ. I think he's gonna be champ very soon. And I'm just hoping that we're not simultaneously up there and then people are start talking about us fighting. Like like we'll have to navigate our way through those like waters. I think he's gonna be great. I think he's got all the skill sets. He's got the mind for it for sure. Um, I still talk to him. I haven't been able to train with him as much, obviously, but we still talk throughout his training camps and everything. I think he appreciates some of my input, even though it's more so, bro, like this is there. Even if it's not something for him, I think he appreciates what I can see there, and yeah, I think he's gonna do great. He's got an amazing mind. He's got the one of the best work ethics I think I've ever seen. He's a tank for the division. I think he's got to be the strongest bantamweight in the division. It's insane. Like, I feel bad for anybody that he gets a hold of because I know what that feels like, and it's not good.
I want to talk. I guess I'll ask a couple more, and then I'll let you go. As someone who, I did jiu-jitsu in the past, but I'm starting to get back into it. So now I'll be like sitting down on the couch, and I'll look over, and I'm like, I could get you in an armbar right now. How often do those thoughts go through your mind? You're sitting down watching a movie, and you're like, I'm just gonna throw up an armbar really quick.
Yeah, me and Shino, like, we can't even really hug properly because we'll start throwing uchimatas and stuff like that. That stuff's just always on my mind. I try to make sure, like, I at least get that, even if I'm not on my non-training days. I try to take in, like, I can't remember where I heard the quote, something about 15 minutes of boxing, even on your days off. Just absorbing that information can really help your own mind and process things and everything. So whether it's TV, I like movies and stuff, when I'm watching people fail moves, or like I'm like, that's not a real punch. Like, I know what a real punch looks like. That's not a real punch. Like, stuff like that. Like, I always got an eye for it. Um, that's a day in day out thing though. That's just how I work.
All right, man. Well, I won't take up too much more of your time. I appreciate any time that you give me. So before we end it, is there anyone you want to shout out, or social media you'd like to plug?
If you need to reach me, hit me up on Instagram. Is going to be one of the best spots, or Twitter. Twitter's been getting a lot of attention. I don't know if you saw that tweet about Yanez. Yeah, you seen that?
Yeah, you guys
Yeah,
look.
yeah, I threw that out there. That popped up with like almost 800 likes. I was like, oh shit, it's my first like big tweet. It's kind of funny. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Vendetta135. I just want to give a shout out to my management and the team here in Vegas Syndicate, and everybody at the PI. Like I said, they put me back together. Literally, it was in a sense, it was kind of nice to be able to start from ground zero, right? So I couldn't even walk. I had to relearn how to walk and run and and lift weights again and squat proper, like everything I had to redo. And they've kind of been with me every step of the way. So Tara, Bobby, Heather, John, Rolando, Matt, the strength and conditioning coach, all those guys have all played a key role in my development and recovery back. I really want to make sure they know that I'm grateful for it, and I want to show that's a valuable tool. So when I'm back in the cage, just keep a lookout, because it's going to be a whole new animal.